So, folks, again, as we're breaking down live in our live show for day 2 of MLB Winter Meeting coverage on WardyNYM, but we're also going to be coming out with clips and recording certain pieces that we find out new news on, and that includes the following: that the New York Mets, according to Joel Sherman, are among teams that are showing interest in both Freddie Peralta and Trevor Megill for the bullpen. Would that be something? It's one thing to land Freddie Peralta. That's the ace. That's who we would love. But Trevor Megill brings a completely different element. And not only would you be landing Tyler's brother, but you're landing the brother that is coming off of an unbelievably dominant season as a star reliever there for the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you land him, you could still land him and still sign Edwin Diaz, which makes it all that much better. But again, yes, the Brewers are open for business on starter Freddie Peralta if a suitor is willing to meet a steep price for their ace, but they are getting calls from even more teams about reliever Trevor Megill, including both the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. Megill, the older brother of Tyler, has become a top-flight reliever since being obtained by the Brewers from the Twins in April 2023. I was right, as I was telling you guys. Again, I really wanted the Mets to consider Trevor Megill at the time when he was DFA'd. Brewers swooped him up, and he's been a stud since. 3.23 ERA in 129 games. Megill had a right flexor strain that costed him a month late last season, but he returned to pitch in the regular season and 5 times there in playoffs. The 32-year-old right-hander is coming off of a great season with a 2.5 ERA and 50 regular season games, and we're looking at just over a 2 batting average and struck out 31+% of the hitters they faced. Trevor averaged 99+ with his fastball, touching easily over 100, and his knuckle curve is viewed as one of the better pitches and one of the more dominant ones in the game today. So there's plenty of appeal regarding one Trevor Megill. And as you guys can see here with the stats, I'm going to pull it up for you guys right now because the stats I'm currently showing you are Michael King's. That's from when we were having the Michael King conversation. Let's go ahead and pull up Trevor Megill's numbers and talk a little bit more in this one, everybody. Actually, Jacob, if you're watching this, Jacob, I'm going to message you right now. Sorry, guys, had to try. Yeah, I know. He's 6'8". Isn't that insane? He's so much bigger than me. It's insane. I met Tyler before, and Tyler was towering over me. He's like 6'6", but Trevor Megill's 6'8". Actually, a beast. 250 pounds. Insane. Let's get into it. Trevor Megill's numbers, guys. 11.5 K per nine and a 3.2 walks per nine, a home run per nine of 0.57 this past season, and we're looking at a 2.5 ERA, a 3.19 expected ERA, so not bad expected numbers at all. And we're looking at a 1.6 WAR season for the reliever in just 47 innings. The year prior for the Brewers, he had a 2.72 ERA with a 2.8 expected ERA, with a 9.7 K per nine to a 2.7 walks per nine, and 46 innings and 48 games there for them. The year prior, we saw his first year there with the Milwaukee Brewers. That was still good in a smaller sample size. He struck out everyone and their mother. 13.5 K per nine and 3 walks per nine, a 0.5 home run per nine, and a 3.6 ERA to a 3.2 expected ERA. 34 innings across 31 games and 2 starts. I'm sure were more spot starts. But Trevor Megill's nasty, everybody. Like, if the Mets landed someone like him, in theory, they wouldn't need to bring Edwin Diaz back, but you obviously know you want the Mets to bring Edwin Diaz back because this is how you build a super bullpen. If you have to round and had Edwin Diaz, Trevor Megill, and Devin Williams, there is not a better 1-2-3 right-handed dominant punch in baseball. And that is not an exaggeration. That is a fact. You cannot find a better 3-headed horseman in a bullpen of 3 righties that'll just absolutely light your world on fire. Or in the case of, obviously, Devin Williams, having one of, if not the nastiest change in the game. So a lot to like about him. Obviously, he understands a thing or two about the Mets organization through his family, who I've had great conversations with. I hope to bump into again at spring training, as they typically do. I run into the Megill family. Love them both dearly. And they've always relayed very good things regarding Trevor. And it's been awesome to hear his success. And I would love to see him in this organization, especially, Tyler's out. So I think we all agree we should have one Megill come in to replace the other, at least for the time being. Not that he's going to come in as a starter for us, but, you know, jokingly, I'm just saying this. We are doing the giveaway in a little bit once we get ourselves close to 1K in the live chat, because we're going to be live for multiple hours tonight. So we're not doing it yet, but we will be doing it soon. And if I feel like that we're going to plateau around, you know, we're sit right around 900 for a good chunk of the night, then I'll just do it, you know, once we hit, say, the hour mark in the show, which is 20 minutes from now. Nonetheless, we will be doing the giveaway, I promise. But to expand more regarding Trevor Megill in particular and how enticing of a pickup he would be, these are more numbers from Michael Caine from the 2024 season, so please disregard that just because we were talking about him. But oh baby, this would be nuts. And Jolie would love this, I know that much, their mom, because that way they could both be in the same destination. That way they don't have to be going here and then going there. Just look at this, guys. Just nasty. 98th percentile in fastball velocity, sits 99, touches 100 plus on the gun without a problem. His four-seam fastball, he threw 61% of the time this past season at 99 plus, and the curveball, he threw just under 40% of the time that we saw at right around 88 miles per hour. So one quick thing that I would like to make note of with Trevor Megill, he is a two-pitch pitcher. He's just like Edwin Diaz in that sense. So it is one of those things that you would have to think, if there was a world where the Mets traded for Trevor Megill, you know, would they really do that for the sense of him to be the Edwin Diaz replacement? And I would not want to see that happen by any stretch of the imagination. I would hope and pray that instead of it being a replacement, you just go ahead and actually land Diaz back, because I want Edwin Diaz. I want my guy more than anyone else. That goes without saying. But if there's a world where you can build a super bullpen, because all you have to do is trade assets for Trevor Megill, is he going to cost you a good chunk right now? Yes, but he still shouldn't, in theory at least, cost you as much as someone like Freddie Peralta, because Freddie Peralta is a lot more immediate value for you. Trevor Megill is a free agent in 2028, so he's on a team-friendly contract for the next 2 seasons, and he has a minor league option, which is absolutely massive. Not that you would need it, but just God forbid if something goes wrong with him, something goes awry, having that roster flexibility is very attractive. And just knowing that David Stearns is in the market to not only, after signing the initial previous closer for the Milwaukee Brewers that he became the closer of, he anointed Devin Williams the closer role, because if you guys don't know, he traded Josh Hader away when he had over a year long left on his contract there to the San Diego Padres or so. And then we saw him go, that being in Devin Williams as the closer under the David Stearns regime, to then, since Devin Williams has been gone, who's been getting that help there and the reliever role? It has been, in fact, yes, Trevor Megill. Would kind of be nuts if we saw the New York Mets having basically the 2 former top relievers for the Milwaukee Brewers under the David Stearns regime. It would be very fitting, no doubt about it. And if you can land somehow all 3, and himself, Devin Williams, and Edwin Diaz, well, by God, you have built something very special for this Mets bullpen. But to expand more on this, everybody, I do want to get into this. Let me just pull this up right down here. Let me go ahead and minimize this for a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up over here so that way you guys can get a little bit more of a look at the Trevor Megill highlights, how he looks as a pitcher, especially as a dominant right-hander. That would come in a lot of high-leverage spots. Let's go ahead and pull up what we know to this point on the highlight front. Oh, yeah, we got some fun highlights to show you guys. Let's go ahead and do that. Bing, bang, boom. Got this clicked, got that clicked, got this clicked, and here we go. Okay. Look at this nastiness. Once I can grab this page, hold on. Nasty. Actually nasty. Just need this to work in my favor real quick. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Look at this. There's only so much you can do when you get that kind of drop after you're getting 100 up and in. Like, that's disgusting. I'm still waiting to see the 4-seam. There it is. Nasty. Dot. Come on. Dot. Right down the pipe. That was the Vogelback special. Oh that's just not even fair. He's 6'8" too. Like, we've seen him dominate against us. I literally remember us reacting when we were playing the Brewers last year, like in the regular season. Oh my God, Trevor Megill's coming in. Yeah, we're cooked. Like, that's it, bud. Good luck. Sayonara. You're out of here. It just that just disgust. And that fat 100 in, just beautifully dotted. Yeah, sign me up. Oh my God, that bend is honestly a little similar to Ottavino's sweeper. It has more of a diagonal drop instead of Otto's was really sweeping horizontal from the right to the left side of his body. Look at this. Nasty. Yeah. Yeah, sign me up. Give me some Trevor Megill right about now. That'd be fantastic. So yeah, Mets fans, definitely let me know in the comments down below if you're for or against the New York Mets now being in the market for Trevor Megill. And as I mentioned, this was just reported here from Joel Sherman of the New York Post. Let me go ahead and pull this up for each and every one of you. Just give me 1 second so I can go ahead and do exactly that, everybody. If you guys would like to check out this article, it's in entirety for yourself. I'm going to break down now the Freddie Peralta aspect of this a little bit more because, again, we know that the Mets have been in the Freddie Peralta market, but they can pull off a trade like in a world where they could pull off a blockbuster. Again, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I'm just saying that would be a great reality if it actually becomes one. I'll tell you that much. And the Mets have more assets to make this happen than the Yankees, so the Yanks can promptly F off, please. But here's the official article again. It is not just Freddie Peralta. The Brewers are receiving a lot of interest in Trevor Megill, including the Mets and the Yankees. And here is more details regarding said article, because we're going to then talk about a little bit more. Wow. Hold on, everybody. Sorry, I'm just getting everything, all my ducks in a row right here. Got to pull up this article for you guys. Okay. So we talked about the Trevor Megill aspect. Now let's get into a bit more here on Freddie Peralta. As for Peralta, this is quoting Sherman, Milwaukee has shown it will trade an ace, having done so with Corbin Burns in the past after the 2023 season, and they're open to do it again with Peralta with the Mets among the interested clubs. Their president of baseball ops, David Stearns, acquired Peralta for the Brewers from the Mariners in December 2015, as I mentioned to you guys earlier in the show, and arguably his best trade while running Milwaukee's baseball operations. However, Peralta's $8 million price tag for 2026, the final on his current contract, makes him affordable to any team, which means interest is wide for the righty. I mean, this is true. A lot of teams have interest in Freddie Peralta, but Freddie Peralta, in my opinion, is, again, one of the best options for the Mets to get in this year's starting pitcher market. Because when you evaluate the price points of the certain market for how many guys are actually looking ace caliber versus guys that look more on, your 3 to 5 range, there's definitely a difference that we have seen from the free agent class to what is currently available in the trade market. And, I thought it was absolutely hilarious when we initially saw the remarks of, what was it? Is it Anthop? Nah, I'm blanking on the last name, the owner for the Brewers, who spoke out not long ago and said that they are really happy and comfortable about their rotation status after they had got Brandon Woodruff back for the 2026 season on the $22+ million qualifying offer. And then all it took was like a week or two for reporting to come out to say, yeah, no, they would still be open to trading Peralta because Peralta is in a walk year. He's obviously not going to resign long term with the Brewers. And there's so many suitors in his market right now that you'd be silly to not at least consider. And that's why you see, let's see, Athanasiou, thank you. I appreciate that. That's how you pronounce, or something along those lines, right? I always think of the hockey player, even though I know it's not the exact same spelling at the end. If you guys know who I'm talking about. Regardless, let's talk more on Freddie Peralta, and let's talk about why, in my opinion, and the opinions of many, he would be a fantastic pickup for this Mets team. Because you guys have to realize, when we evaluate the trade market, there are plenty of guys that are feasible. There are plenty of guys that look good on paper, but how many guys are actually logical to acquire via trade, where you're helping the team that's in a contending spot still, would like to stay in a more of a contentious spot, would like to acquire starting pitching? If you trade away a top pitcher, they would want a top pitching prospect back, which means that they would have a great appetite for a Brandon Sproat, for a Jonathan, someone along those lines. Or potentially, maybe you could try to sway them more in the direction of a Jack Weniger, a Will Watson, a Jonathan Santucci, and RJ Gordon. Someone along more of those lines is obviously a potential too. But the point stands. The Brewers would want someone or players that could impact them now. Andres Athanasiou is who I was thinking of. Yes, Red Wings legend, Kings legend, if you know, you know. Speed Demon, just, fluctuate with his finishing a lot. He was like, I think he was a Chicago Blackhawk too, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, getting on a tangent, Freddie Peralta's numbers is what you guys see beside me. It's not just down below. At just under 180 innings this past season, a 2.7 ERA, 3.5 or so expected ERA, just over a 1 WHIP, looking really good. 200 plus strikeouts, 97th percentile in pitching run value, 84th in fastball run value, 88th in breaking run value, 96th in off-speed run value, 72nd in expected ERA, 85th in expected batting average, 59th in fastball velocity, 80th in average exit velocity, right around league average in chase percentage, 83rd in whip percentage, 84th in K percentage, well below, not too crazy below league average in walk percentage, but 30th percentile, 32nd in barrel percentage, 90th in hard hit percentage, which is awesome. He's not getting hard hit at all. So you're not only seeing him have above average velo right now, going from 95 to touching the higher 90s on the gun, but he isn't getting hit hard. Ground ball percentage below league average because he's not a ground ball pitcher as much. 81st percentile that we see in extension, which is very impressive because he's only 6 foot, just around 200 pounds. So really taking advantage of the full extension that he can provide into his release point. Freddie Peralta, entering his age 30 season, has been the so-called ace along with Brandon Woodruff for this Milwaukee Brewer rotation the past number of years. A man that David Stearns knows unbelievably well as someone that he not only traded for, and one of the best trades, if not the best trade Stearns has ever made as the leader of the ship there in Milwaukee, but as someone who watched live in real time blossom to becoming the so-called ace caliber starter that many deem him to be today. And when we talk more regarding Freddie Peralta in particular, everybody, let's deviate away from these numbers of one Trevor Megill. Very entertaining. Trust me when I say that Trevor Megill is certainly an enticing pitcher. I don't have any qualms with going after Trevor Megill. I would love it if the Mets could make a blockbuster trade for him happen. But in order for that to happen, you obviously have to give up a lot. If the Mets say did a blockbuster and somehow pried away the star closer / reliever and ace from the Brewers, you would have to give up a good chunk. You'd have to give up, obviously, guys that can impact them now. And I think the Mets have the assets to make it happen fairly comfortably. That's the thing. I think that there's a role where the Mets could most certainly pull off a trade of that great significance. And the Brewers churn out great pitching every year with their eyes closed and their hands tied behind their back without a problem. This is not unfamiliar territory for them. They're a very good player development organization. And this is also a David Stearns ran Mets that knows the top talents from the Brewers, given that immediate connection. And Peralta checks off an abundance of boxes for you, as is the case to a certain degree at least of Trevor Megill for your bullpen if you can land him, and hopefully Edwin Diaz. If you land him as a Diaz replacement, there's a lot more uncertainty as to what you'd be getting more long-term there. Not at all slighted Trevor Megill, but he's only been a very good reliever for a couple years now, whereas Edwin Diaz has been dominant for a good stretch for a pretty darn long time now. Just give it 1 second, everybody, as this puppy is loading for me, so that way I can show you guys the numbers. Now, one thing that I do like about Freddie Peralta is that his innings have increased each of the past 3+ seasons, right? You know, he only pitched 78 innings due to injury in 2022, but still posted a 3.5 ERA. I was coming off of a very good 2021 season at the age of 25 on 144 innings, 12 K per nine, 3.5 walks per nine, sub .9 home run per nine, a 2.8 ERA, and a 2.7 expected ERA. In 2023, 165 innings for Peralta, just under 11.5 K per nine, under 3 walks per nine, way above on the home run rate at 1.4. That is notable. And a 3.8 ERA and a 3.3 expected ERA, 3 WAR season per Fangraphs. 2024 comes around. 173 innings for Peralta, 32 starts, 10.3 K per nine, 3.5 walks per nine, home run rate 1.35, basically the same, 3.68 ERA and 3.8 expected ERA. By the expected numbers, that was actually the worst season that Freddie Peralta had for the most part. Then we look at the 2025 season, 176 innings, just under 10.4 K per nine, 3.36 walks per nine, just over 1 home run per nine. That's a key adjustment that Peralta made because the long ball was biting him in the you-know-what the previous couple years. 2.7 ERA and right around 3.5 expected ERA, as we've talked about. So a 3.6 WAR season for Freddie Peralta. Is he as good as Turk Skubal? No. Is he necessarily going to look as good as Joe Ryan? And some days not necessarily, but I think he's right in that Joe Ryan category. I think he's right in that category of all the other second-tier options that are very good pitchers, but obviously aren't Tarik Skubal back-to-back Cy Young Award winning good. But if you, again, land someone like Freddie Peralta, sign someone like Michael Cain, who we've been breaking down in our Winter Meetings Day 2 live stream coverage, as we know the Mets have continued their talks with Michael Cain, that is a slam dunk of an offseason in building this rotation, at least in my opinion. If you guys feel differently, that's more than fine. You guys let me know, obviously. But I think that given the current status of the Mets rotation, knowing how desperate that they are in need for ace caliber starters, but guys that can provide innings, Peralta helps with the innings, and the upside is still most certainly there. And Michael Cain, bring these guys in, and you have yourself something really cooking for the 2026 season on paper. God willing, they're staying healthy and looking healthy heading into the season. But in case you guys are unfamiliar with Freddie Peralta's game, I will be completely honest by saying that I too have fluctuated with my opinions on him, because truthfully, I was kind of stubborn and sour to begin the 2024 season for the Mets when they started like 0-5 or horrendous against the Brewers begin the season. I was very pissed off, and Peralta had success against us. I'm like, I don't give a rat's who Freddie Peralta is. I don't care about him. All I care about is the Mets not performing well. He isn't even that good. But no, Freddie Peralta is actually pretty good. The jury is still out as to, obviously, has he peaked already in his career? Could he reach even a greater high, a new level with a new organization like the New York Mets? Especially where he would be pitching in a pitcher's park half the year there at Citi Field. Yet to be determined on that front. But nonetheless, a lot of appeal to someone like Freddie Peralta, and he's someone that can really throw the kitchen sink at you as well, which is, again, something that I'm sure the Mets would like to see in this rotation, a guy that has a really good makeup of 3 to 5 pitches at least, and also someone that can come in and hopefully give you north of 180 innings next season as one of your ace caliber starters. Him, Noel McLean, and so on and so forth. Him, Noel McLean, and Michael Cain would be a really nice looking 1-2-3 in this rotation. And then you have a lot of depth from Clay Holmes to Sean Manaea to David Peterson to, of course, Christian Scott, Jonathan, Brandon Sproat. But I would go under the assumption that if you made a trade in a blockbuster for, say, both Freddie Peralta and Trevor Megill, not a chance, and that you don't trade at least one of those top pitching prospects, right? So now to everybody watching the live chat, I definitely want to hear from you guys, so please spam it in the live chat there to each and every one of you. How many of you guys are for the Mets going all in to make a blockbuster trade happen? If the Twins are going to be stubborn on their willingness to trade their top talents this offseason, the Mets have to pivot, and the Brewers might be the next man up, as there are an abundance of offers coming in per Joel Sherman of the New York Post for Trevor Megill and Freddie Peralta, and the New York Mets are all in on those markets. Let me know if you guys are for or against, and what assets you believe it'll take to land said players. I think you could easily give up one of Brandon Sproat or Jonathan. I think you can consider giving up one of Jet Williams or AJ Ewing. Again, not that I want to see any of these guys traded, but the Mets have an abundance of riches, especially with their infield prospects. You could consider maybe separately how much of an appetite that they may have for one of when we look at the Mark Vientoses, the Luis Angel Acuñas, the Ronnie Mauricio types, who would be most appealing for them and why in that regard. There are various routes the Mets can go down for a potential trade package. But the point is that they have the assets to make it happen, and they have assets that can help the Brewers now keep them afloat as a top contending team in the National League, add multiple years of control with young, exciting talent. And for the Mets, they add a guaranteed thing in Peralta, and they add someone who they know confidently that they can and would more than likely extend. Because you would not trade for Freddie Peralta without the expectation that you were planning to extend him on a mid to long-term deal. And I think if David Stearns is going to have the appetite to do that at all for a starter in his age 30 season or so and beyond, it's someone that he's known on the back of his hand more than any other starters in baseball for the most part, the way that he has a really good, long-lasting connection and understanding of how Freddie Peralta is as a player and as a human being, both on and off the field. And Trevor Megill, we already got Ty Lore. I think we have a really good rapport of people to go to and lean on to figure out how that character makeup is. And from everything that I've heard personally on the Trevor Megill front, he is a high moxie type tempo pitcher. We've seen him do exactly that on the mound. Him and Ty Lore are very opposite in their personalities, which is fascinating. Knowing that they're two obviously successful pitchers at the major league level, you could say Trevor's had a little bit more success than Ty Lore at this point because he's really established as one of the better relievers in all of the National League. But if you add him with Edwin Diaz and Devin Williams, forget it. That's it. We got ourselves the best back end in baseball. So let's see if the Mets can make a blockbuster like this happen, everybody. We got a lot more topics to break down in tonight's live show. As I've been reiterating, we have a lot of remarks that we have to get into on the front of David Stearns as well as Carlos Mendoza and the latest regarding guys like Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso. We're going to get to as many of those as we can. And to our replay viewers, if this live stream is a little chopped up at all, that's just simply because I'm bearing in mind certain topics as to, if they're going to be stated here, or if I'm going to post them as separate videos, or if I'm just going to cut it out because we're in more of a Q&A session, whatever the case may be. So just if things are a little scattered as you're watching a replay, there's a reason for it. But we got plenty more to get into, so let's go ahead and do exactly that.